Liming with my friends and family, greeting everyone around, eating, dancing, getting down, spending week Christmas in Guyana. Watching all the little children running up and down, playing excitedly with their toys, making sure we get we share of curry, goat and rum, shuffling cards and dominoes with the boys. Yes man, there's nothing like the home on Christmas morning. Everybody there soca dancing, masquerade band coming down, Mother Sally prancing round, spending week Christmas in Guyana. Merry Christmas! Ginger beer jumping, winding up the boomsy in and out, sneaking in the kitchen to see what grandma cooking, putting something hot inside me mouth. Ow! There's nothing like me home on Christmas morning, garlic pork and black fruit cake baking, plenty sorrel and more beer, ice apple and enough sweet tea, spending week Christmas in Guyana. Ho, ho, ho! Christmas. Hey Captain Paul, how black eye boy? Hey sure. Merry Christmas boy. Christmas morning, liming with my friends and family, greeting everyone around, eating, dancing, getting down, spending week Christmas in Guyana. Watching all the little children running up and down, playing excitedly with their toys, making sure we get we share of curry, goat and rum, shuffling cards and dominoes with the boys. Yes man, there's nothing like the home on Christmas morning. Everybody there soca dancing, masquerade band coming down, Mother Sally prancing round, spending week Christmas in Guyana. Merry Christmas! Ginger beer jumping, winding up the boomsy in and out, sneaking in the kitchen to see what grandma cooking, putting something hot inside me mouth. Ow! There's nothing like me home on Christmas morning, garlic pork and black fruit cake baking, plenty sorrel and more beer, ice apple and enough sweet tea, spending week Christmas in Guyana. Ho, ho, ho! Christmas. Hey Captain Paul, how black eye boy? Hey sure. Merry Christmas boy. There's nothing like me home on Christmas morning, liming with my friends and family, greeting everyone around, eating, dancing, getting down, spending week Christmas in Guyana. Watching all the little children running up and down, playing excitedly with their toys, making sure we get we share of curry, goat and rum, shuffling cards and dominoes with the boys. Yes man, there's nothing like the home on Christmas morning. Everybody there soca dancing, masquerade band coming down, Mother Sally prancing round, spending week Christmas in Guyana. Merry Christmas! and out. Sneaking in the kitchen to see what grandma cooking. Putting something hot inside me mouth. Ow! There's nothing like me home on Christmas morning. Garlic pork and black fruit cake baking. Plenty sorrel and mobby, ice apple and enough sweet tea. Spending we Christmas in Guyana. Ho ho ho! Merry Christmas! Hey Captain Paul, how black eye boy? Hey sure? Merry Christmas boy!
Jing-a-ling, jing-a-ling, jing-a-ling-a-ling. Jing-a-ling, jing-a-ling, jing-a-ling-a-ling. Way, 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 way. Jing-a-ling-ling-ling, jing-a-ling-ling-ling-ling-ling. The bell ringing, jing-a-ling-ling-ling, jing-a-ling-ling-ling-ling-ling. Look, Santa coming, jing-a-ling-ling-ling. This is Irani in the Wiz Studio. Merry Christmas, everybody. Way. Santa come home by me and he say he hungry. Santa bole hum hookah. Santa come home by me and he say he hungry. I give him some curry and a hot dal puri. Ding-a-ling-ling-ling, ding-a-ling-ling-ling-ling-ling. The bell ringing, ding-a-ling-ling-ling, ding-a-ling-ling-ling-ling-ling. Look, Santa eating, ding-a-ling-ling-ling. He say he big cry, he go do with something hard. Santa man get daru here.
Yes indeed, pleasant good night on this New Year's night. Of course, we are looking at the corridor transformation as we continue, of course, to deal with the issues and to be realistic and not, of course, for one moment to be complacent lest we allow the enemy some time to recuperate. They must not reassemble, they must not regather, they must not, of course, assemble. We must have them in total disarray and in total acceptance that we are not going to relent, nor are we going to, of course, in any way subside our attempts to protect and defend and promote our democracy. After all, democracy requires what? Eternal vigilance. And that is what the ground report, the corridor transformation and others. Don't forget, of course, that tomorrow we have the ground report back on stream in the new year 2024. And what we will do is have a mix because we are Trinbagonians and we know how to enjoy ourselves. We do not and must not allow Carnival, that will be the next stage of the festivity, to deter and to, of course, allow us to be in a state of a total and absolute, what I consider to be complacency. Yes, indeed.
I tell them what I want and I carry him in the mall. Jing-a-ling-ling-ling, jing-a-ling-ling-ling-ling-ling. The bell ringing, jing-a-ling-ling-ling, jing-a-ling-ling-ling-ling-ling. Look, Santa shopping, jing-a-ling.
Christmas morning, liming with me friends and family, greeting everyone around, eating, dancing, getting down, spending we Christmas in Guyana, watching all the little children running up and down, playing excitedly with their toys, making sure we get we share of curry, goat and rum, shuffling cards and dominoes with the boys. Yes, man. nothing like me home on Christmas morning. Everybody there soca dancing. Masquerade band coming down. Mother Sally prancing wrong. Spending week Christmas in Guyana. Merry Christmas! Ginger beer jumping, winding up the boomsy in and out. Sneaking in the kitchen to see what grandma cooking. Putting something hot inside me mouth. Ow! There's nothing like me home on Christmas morning. Garlic pork and black fruit cake baking. Plenty sorrel and mobby, ice apple and enough sweet tea. Spending week Christmas in Guyana. Ho ho ho! Christmas. Hey, Captain Paul, how black eye boy? Hey, sure. Merry Christmas, boy. Ho, ho, ho.
Yes, indeed. Pleasant good night to all. Yes, it is New Year's 2024. And what we have to do, why to join ourselves, we must, of course, be conscious, be cognizant of the fact that our democracy is under threat, and we must therefore deal with it in a manner that is consistent with the imperative of our society that says no to those who will try to generate dictatorship, autocracy, and the lunacy of a totalitarian state. Yes, indeed.
Drinking booze, pilot say for call Santa Cruz. Ingrid begging me to make her stop. She don't want no callaloo. Trinidad Pillow won't do it. Guyanese met MG and pepper pot for she. There's nothing like me home on Christmas morning. Liming with me friends and family.
Yes, indeed. A pleasant good night once again, of course, East, West, North, Central in Trinidad, our friends in Tobago, and wherever you are streaming on the World Wide Web. A pleasant good day to you. I trust that opening salvo would, of course, characterize and, of course, symbolize what is expected, the dynamism and the tenacity and the focus, because there is a need to save Trinidad and Tobago. And while, of course, I started with, of course, a tune from Guyana, because I was particularly enthused and particularly motivated as well when the Vice President of Guyana outlined for the Guyanese people, but it would, of course, resonate with us in Trinidad in the context of what we have been missing and what the government of the day ought to be telegraphing to the people. But instead, what we have is hoodwinking, deception, and, of course, a total contradiction as to talk versus action. And we have seen more of that during the course of the so-called New Year's address by the Prime Minister. But thank God we have, of course, a very honest, a very decent, a very professional opposition leader called Kamala Persad-Bissessar, who, of course, also gave her New Year's greetings or New Year's speech or address. Let me say at this point in time, my condolences and that of the corridor transformation, and I'm sure tomorrow and in advance, the ground report on the passing of Basilio Pandey. We understand it has been confirmed that he has passed away, I think sometime today. And of course, a giant of a man, an era has, of course, come to an end because he was, in fact, a very colorful, a very dynamic, a very, of course, what I consider to be a gentleman that has brought a kind of effervescence to the politics. There could be no one to replace him, as he, of course, made his mark and now, of course, has gone to the great beyond, of course, and the rest of us will, of course, meet him there sometime. But now it's not our time to be there with him. But certainly, he would have expected us to, of course, fight for democracy, and of course, stay committed to the tenets of democracy, government by the people, of the people, and for the people. And therefore, in those circumstances, once again, he has left, of course, a powerful legacy, which, of course, if we follow and if we, of course, emulate, we certainly will be on the right path. Because one of the things I can tell you, the question of racial politics was never with Basdio Pandey, I can tell you that. And the party that was bequeathed or left to Kamla Prasad Bisesa, we saw that in a similar vein. It is only the PNM that will be raising, of course, connotations and insinuations as to race, and of course making, of course, the Africans, because Rowley and they, who would be at the forefront, putting, of course, the Indians in the PNM in the background, and then making the monumental and, of course, the most inexplicable statements and accusations that somehow the political party nurtured and developed by Basdio Pandey is somehow generating and perpetuating and mushrooming racial tension in Trinidad and Tobago, when in fact those who are speaking and talking loudly like empty vessels are talking about Rowley and they are the ones that are fanning the flames of racial tension in order to remain in office and engage, of course, in what I regularly and will continue to, of course, announce, pronounce, and discern as, of course, pseudo-racist policies, agenda, narratives, and, of course, to be inculcated by those who have yet to recognize that wicked and devious intent to racially divide in order to rule. That is what the essence of the PNM politics is all about, particularly under this fellow called Rowley, and we will have none of it. It must be based on merit, and therefore the question of meritocracy and the best person or persons be made to sit in the office of Prime Minister and, of course, occupy the cabinet room in Trinidad and Tobago, and therefore deliver policies, create and then deliver policies in Trinidad and Tobago, must be the essence of our civilization and the democracy that is Trinidad and Tobago. Let us not fool ourselves by, of course, allowing Rowley and they to fool us into thinking that somehow the Africans have been, of course, shortchanged. The extent to which they are shortchanged is the extent to which Rowley and they remain in office to, of course, exhibit and encourage that nonsense. Let's go straight to the line. Let's go straight to the line. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Good night, Mr. Lennox.
Good night to you.
I want to say Happy New Year to you. Good to hear your voice in New Year, because at the end of the day and the night, you don't have to do this. Because you know why? You're doing it for the people. And the people do appreciate it. And I want to send my condolences to the former Prime Minister Basdio Pandey, he and the family. Right? Look, you stay until 12 o'clock last night, and the people don't appreciate that. Okay, and I hope you had a good rest today.
Yes, I did, but I got up, of course, back on the job.
But you're looking good, you're singing good, and
Thank
with
you.
God blessing and with the will of the Lord, you will be carrying on. You know, people don't appreciate that what you do. You are doing that for yourself, you know. You're doing it for the people. And the people do appreciate. Miss Santa Cruz, good night. Happy New Year, right? Best wishes for the new year, health and strength and prosperity. And whatever you're going through, your God will deal with it. Okay? And we thank you in 2023 for your contribution. And we're looking forward in 2024 and beyond that. So good night. So Mr. Lennox, thank you to hear you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And you wouldn't believe those words are music to a person like myself. As she is correct in every regard and every respect, and all the points that you would have made. That is to say, I don't need to do this. I don't have to do this. But I see it as my patriotic responsibility and duty. Because, of course, if we don't, we will continue, of course, to be persecuted. We'll continue, of course, to accept anything as government and governance, and the abuse and the tragedy that the country has found itself because of incompetence, impotence, and a group of individuals who prefer to use the majority of the resources of the country not in the interest of the most vulnerable and susceptible, and of course those who are most vulnerable, but to take those resources most despicably inhumane, wicked, and dangerous, and of course line their own pockets, friends and family, and of course a 1% that all of us are conscious of, and of course detest. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Not the honorable doctor.
Good night to you as well, my
I
friend. All the best for the new year.
would like to congratulate the lady who called just now. A lot of people don't think people are saying people just ignorant in Trinidad and Tobago. It's stupid. They see things going wrong in front of the field and listening. They just ain't see. They're blind and they're stupid. Now you could always teach an illiterate, but you cannot teach an ignorant.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. Well said. Well said.
Yeah,
We'll try to extrapolate that statement. You
yeah.
can't
This,
teach. You can't teach what I ignorant, but you can still get some relief with that illiterate. I hear you.
now you could always teach an illiterate, but you cannot teach an ignorant.
Can't teach you ignorant. Yes.
All the best, my brother, and keep it up.
Thank you very much, and same to you and your family as well for a wonderful and productive 2024 as we move forward.
Thank you, my honorable doctor.
Yes, thank you. Yes, indeed, people, a lot of philosophizing, a lot of people who have had a good moral and ethical standards, and something like Rowley. Rowley will tell us the same thing, but I am going to play tomorrow the Vice President Jack Dio of Guyana, and you will understand the plans and programs. And while, of course, Trinidad and Tobago is an example, as he would tell us, of not what to do with a windfall, and the so-called, of course, Dutch disease must not plague Guyana as it plagued the Trinidad and Tobago. And that was largely because of the myopia, because of the lack of vision and the overwhelming, should I say, consumption by the political directorate, particularly the PNM that has been in office for clearly too long. And they have created the morass and the evil and the deterioration of our circumstance. And of course, it is unfolding with a rapidity that will make our children probably curse us if we did not do what is required in order to redeem ourselves, in order to salvage, in order to make certain that we generate the remedies that are required to get Trinidad and Tobago back on even keel. And the first thing is to get rid of a group of persons who believe that once they attach or hitch their wagon, whether it's political or otherwise, to the PNM, that they are guaranteed, of course, the infiltration and the abuse of the resources of the country, financial and material and influential, and that they are solely responsible for the development of Trinidad and Tobago in their very myopic and self-serving way, as they generate a 1%, and as they project it to us that they are doing it in the best interest of Trinidad and Tobago, when in fact the action shows and demonstrates that they are acting in their own interests, their own narrow, and of course, to put a figure to it, it will be, of course, 1.5 million people minus them, because they are acting in that minus group and within that minus group and are a part of that minus group. That being as it may, I think we should, of course, open the new year by, of course, looking at the presentations of both the opposition leader and the Prime Minister for New Year's. We will, of course, do that after this call. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Good night, sir.
Good night to you.
Well, they come up today, right? All the best for the New Year's and thing, man. But yeah, my family and them, well, they came up today and the badge in the house and started cuss and go on and all kind of thing this evening, they were. Yeah.
And what happened?
Laurel and Ingmarie and telling me something about I have until the end of this week to come out of the place. Otherwise, they will come with bulldozer and all kind of thing to bulldoze the place.
All right. Well, what you do, let me tell you here one time, you make a report to the police one time. All right?
Yes, we now came out from the police station.
All right, good.
I have a police thing here, and well, we have them on audio and everything that was threatening we and saying anything in the house there and whatnot.
Yeah, beautiful, right? And the other phase, that's why I thought you would have contacted me before the holidays, because we could have gone on to the next phase one time. But I suppose you will learn into a sense of comfort. But that's all right. Contact me tomorrow after the program, and we will start to put things in place for the other stage, because they know. That is why they came with no lawyer letter. Notice that they came with a lawyer letter.
No, they ain't came with no lawyer letter or anything like that. They just came in the house, they walk in the house, started record all kind of thing. I and my boxers, my little child and my wife lying on the bed.
No, if you had pulled a cutlass and deal with them, know they would have said something.
Yeah, they would have.
Because I hope that you also said that is a kind of quasi home invasion.
Yeah, well, that's why I make the police and them to know. I say, after all these years, why is now the choosing to do this? After 18 years.
Right, and you sent, yeah. So we need to get to that stage. So what will happen is that when we meet, we will have a formal lawyer letter sent to them, indicating what the position is. All right. So that has to be done tomorrow. To be delivered to them, because now the substantive owner wasn't there, not so, and the substantive, he was there.
Yeah, he was by the road. He say he wasn't coming in the property. He stand by the road and he sent his two daughters, Laurel and Ingmarie. And well, Ingmarie started send some talk, some kind of gunman talk. Well, we have all that on recording.
All right,
But
good.
oh, the last person something with that, she ended up sending people to shoot up some
Yeah,
place
I,
and
I,
all kind of
I,
thing.
I am still of the view that he is not of that. He is not abreast as to what the total situation is. But since he was there, it brings another dimension to the incident. So I can't talk everything on air. So what you could do after 10 o'clock, if you can, call me, and we'll talk a little more.
Sure,
All right,
no
because
problem.
I'm on air right now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, man.
Well, I had the receipt from I had the receipt from the police and them
Yeah,
here.
well,
Them
all
and
right.
all
Send it for
tell
me.
one.
Send it for me. WhatsApp it to me and whatever thing. But it came with no documents, right? You just came with yourself
No
physically.
documents. They just come by themselves and they started send threat and started walking the house. I pushed them out the house.
All right,
And they
very
keep
good.
telling
Yes,
all
because
one.
yeah, that's right. Beautiful, right? Yeah. You have a right to so do. That's home invasion.
And it's not until I walk out the house, them started just running the house and started record all kind of thing. I want to know what kind of mad thing is that. My child and wife inside is she doesn't feeling too well these
Yeah.
days. You understand? And my little
All
daughter
right.
there on the bed, my daughter she trembling right now still.
I could well imagine.
Because
I could well imagine because there is nothing they could do about it. That's it. The place gone. Right, having regard to the circumstances, right? That is why the lawyer has not, of course, responded, because they have a right. If they give you a legal letter, then they should let the lawyer respond to you. Why they come physically?
If you hear, I will send the voice notes on them for you to hear it. We was talking about who is this Lennox Smith and who are taking advice from bad company and all kind of things they started telling me and all kind of things. All kind of things I tell her they started telling me now.
Yeah, send the information for me, because you must not defend your family. You must not defend your interests. They must just walk in and take after all these years, and you have and you must just go and sleep on the streets. That's what they're telling you. Not so, and that's what it boils down to. Not so.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to. You must just pick up your things and leave the place and go and sleep on the road. That's what they're telling you. Not so.
So, yeah. And after that now,
after over 18, 20 years.
Yeah.
All right. Let us not shed too much light on this on air, because I'm on air right now. So after 10 o'clock, you'll call me.
Okay.
All right.
Sure,
I'll finish in 10.
No problem.
All right. Okay then. Yeah. Bye-bye. Sorry about that, people, but of course, duty calls, and there's some of you who are skeptical, let me put it that way, and in an atmosphere or in a mental state of wishful thinking. Well, that's the kind of thing. Today is New Year's Day, and here it is, someone called me to tell me of a matter that, of course, I will share with you maybe on the ground report tomorrow, and probably tomorrow night when I get a little more information on it. But as I was saying before the intervention, sorry about that, I had to take that call because that is a matter that I have immersed myself in. And of course, you would have heard them say who is Lennox Smith, etc., and it's bad advice. But the bad advice is that he has been occupying a parcel of land given to him by authorized by his family, and another part of the family wants to get it, and he must just leave, and they have not catered for any alternative for him. And I think that was despicable. I think it was dishonest. I think it was wicked. I think it was advantageous. And of course, having said that, let me say it reminds me of Rowley and they want, of course, to say that they will not engage in property tax. They will tell us that no, property tax is matter that was already dealt with UNC, and the UNC said they will return to, of course, land and building taxes. And then after they get into government, they then, of course, pursuing property tax to be implemented next year. And I say we have a responsibility to resist that level of deceit, that level of evil, particularly where you have legal grounds, as in the case of that particular individual who was a young couple that found themselves in that situation. All right, so, but let us go straight, of course, to what the Prime Minister said for the New Year's, and what, of course, what was said by Kamala Persad-Bissessar as their New Year's greetings for 2024. Let me just get that loaded up. Sorry for that, as I said, interruption, but it was due to circumstances beyond my control. It was is an urgent matter that had to be dealt with. Now let me just get that going. Yes, indeed, of course. Yes, right. So let's get that going. Of course, listen to, of course, Prime Minister Keith Christopher Rowley, New Year's greetings to the population, 2024.
Yes, Rowley 20. It is with great anticipation that I share with you the welcoming of the new year 2024 and extend greetings from the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, my family and myself, as Prime Minister. In welcoming 2024, I am pleased that your government can state that it greets the new year with a renewed sense of optimism as we strengthen our energy base, enhance the nation's infrastructure, improve the conditions for investment, and continue our attempts to improve and make the daily lives of citizens safer. On reflection, 2023, the first full year of normalcy after the COVID-19 pandemic, was one of challenges in almost every area of our socio-economic lives. But we can say to ourselves that collectively we have been able to get back on our feet. We can anticipate that the new year will be one full of risks, even as it holds considerable promise. Globally, forecasters predict that 2024 will be a year of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. In short, they say that wherever one is placed in the world, one may not be untouched by world events. The immediate dangers for us are the ongoing wars between Russia-Ukraine and Israel-Hamas, both with no endgame in sight, and hold the potential for wider regional conflicts. Citizens must understand that those arenas, whilst they may be distant, they do hold some serious implications for our daily lives. In addition, the world is shifting from a once unipolar power structure to multipolar, with hardening rhetoric among the superpowers, predictions of a new world order, and the possibility of a return to a period of Cold War. Nonetheless, we here in the Caribbean must still hold fast to keeping our region as a zone of peace. There are hopeful signs here at home, however. During the pandemic, our resilience was demonstrated in most economic measures. The CISO noted a return to growth of 3% in the first quarter of 2023, followed by signs of further growth in the second quarter. This was led by good performance in the non-energy sector, which also showed an uptick in employment, as businesses resumed operations fully after the deep destruction of the pandemic. After a period of heightened inflation, the CISO indicated that in October the rate stood at 1.3%. To our credit, food price inflation fell from roughly 10% in May to 1.9% in October. We can anticipate that the increases in the minimum wage and other government policies will further ease the cost of living burden on the most vulnerable. Additionally, the unemployment rate recorded a decline of 3.7% in the second quarter, indicating that thousands of persons gained employment compared to previous years. In the energy sector, despite years of production challenges, we have seen the fruits of years of careful negotiations realized. This success will significantly impact the lives and fortunes of every citizen of this country. We continue to benefit from the successful recovery efforts that stemmed from the satisfactory conclusion of the CLICO bailout. In the face of all these achievements, the security of citizens continues to be a very serious concern to my government. The Ministry of National Security faces this challenge every day, confronting it with a broad strategy which relies on the presence, quick response, dedication, agility, and resilience of our protective forces. We recognize that this country is a stopover point along the drug and human trafficking route, which also involves the supply of small and light weapons. Like all Caribbean states, we are geographically vulnerable, but we continue to provide training and professional development to the security services. Also, we have increased and improved the recruitment intake of officers and continue to draw on the services of retired senior personnel. We then must turn our appeal to citizens as parents to guide our children's development and behavior, to accept some personal responsibility, and to ensure that we provide no nursery or safe harbors for the criminal element amongst us. The living standards of citizens is also a priority. In 2024, the Ministry of Social Development will roll out a national register in which it will track the lives of the most vulnerable among us. Alongside, there will be initiatives from the Ministry of Health, such as the opening of the 106-bed Sangre Grande General and Secondary Care Hospital, the conversion of the Augustus Long Hospital at Pointe-à-Pierre into an oncology center with a palliative care ward, the completion of the 540-bed Central Block in Port of Spain, and new programs for diabetes and hypertension, and a program to maintain this country's gains in meeting the UN 2030 standards for prenatal and maternal rates. For our public servants, the Ministry of Public Administration plans to roll out modules for a country-based e-human resource management system to improve the staffing and performance of public servants. It will also partner with the UWI to introduce a further range of training programs, refurbish and commission the Point Fortin Administrative Complex, and turn the sod for a new ARIMA administration complex. In the Ministry of Public Utilities, the government will be utilizing the facilities of an IDB loan for improved water delivery with targets that deliver a reliable water supply to 90% of the population in the new year. Its community water improvement program has already improved supplies to Tobago, Point Fortin, Manzanilla, Toco, Valencia, Five Rivers, and Freeport. This year it will expand the water supply to Moruga, Cedros, Pinal, and San Fernando. Fellow citizens, these are just a few of the initiatives and projects that your government will be undertaking in the coming year. As we go forward, other initiatives will be communicated to you. The government will continue to stand in the gap for you in order to ensure that you get the best that is available to you in opportunity and equity. Best wishes for safety, good health, and prosperity for all citizens for 2024.
You heard that? That statement for 2024, an address by the Prime Minister, sent it to the media, of course. Of course, I did my own animation of it to, of course, simultaneously and parallel with, of course, the words that were written and being read out to really identify the level of and the extent to which this fellow will go to deceive us once again. It is a hodgepodge, of course, of what I consider to be not just deception, but deja vu. But let's go straight, of course, to the call. Let's go straight to the call. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor and all the best for the new year.
Good night, Lennox, and Happy New Year to you, my brother. I hope it's a successful year for you and for me too, right? You know, I'm listening to this Prime Minister, and I already read his statement before in the media, and I know, you and I know, it's a propaganda gimmick that he's using.
Telling you,
he has this
insulting us our intelligence, but go ahead. I don't want to make any comment as yet.
You see, he think we are all backwater people. That's how he looks at us, and so you have to kind of think like that. Not really, but you kind of have to position yourself to understand where he's coming from, because he is a psycho. He really is. He F's up our minds every day. That's what he does, and that's his job. So he could keep us distracted with chaos in our environment, and he could succeed in building the energy sector, and then come up with this laundry list at Christmas time and New Year's and tells us that these are the things I'm going to roll out. I'm going to make sure everybody has running water. I'm going to fix all the roads and bridges. I'm going to invest in the school and education. And we are going to have every child will not have to carry heavy book bags anymore. Everything will be online and they will all have iPads and read. And then you visit back the list at the end of the year and to see the accomplishments. And you'll notice that they did some of it, but they never really rolled it out. And they mask it with a few measly handouts, and then they will say we succeeded, and we will be, and everybody will say, yeah, they did it, we did it, but they need more time. Let me give them another year. And so that kind of propaganda will win an election, but it will never change your standard of living and your quality of life. And the reason why I say that is because this prime minister travels all over the world. He stayed in five-star hotel. He has expensive clothes. He plays golf. How many of all play golf? All have golf courses in our village. All just travel every weekend a plane and stay in four-star hotels and have warm towels to wash your hands, little hand dish towels before you eat your lobster. You know, and he comes back to this country and then he tells us that when he had to do a meeting at the United Nations, he had no clothes, he couldn't get a suit. He had to run to Macy's and he bought a suit for $200 or 100 US. That is the kind of story and the propaganda he comes back and tells us. And people believe that. They believe this man because he does not travel with a photographer. He does not travel with the media. He does not allow transparency in his meetings when he travels abroad. And I feel like because of that, we are shielded from what goes on behind that door. And he doesn't tell us the truth. And I say this because, yeah, he's going to hire more police officers. He will get more cars on the road. He will hire all these engineers and experts. The education system will remain the same. There's no trust in the system because the education system is not producing people who are ready to stand up and question authority. Because when you do, they will attack you and bring you down. And Lennox, I say that because this is New Year's, and we had all this firework complaints about the fireworks. And last night I felt like I was in Gaza. I swear to God, the bombs and all the dogs. They couldn't hear any birds, nothing like that, but just boom, 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 and loud music, chaos. Which is, I mean, one say yeah, you do that, but in Trinidad we do that every Sunday night. Every Sunday night, loud music. There's no respect for people. Look tonight, the neighbors still putting fireworks out, and all the dogs are running. The New Year's ended now. Tomorrow is a work day for us. We gotta get back earlier, get back on track. But we're going to party. We're gonna drink tomorrow, drink the next day. That is what the prime minister wants, Lennox, and it happens. And people say we need the rum shop and we need the bars, and does that help your quality of life and your standard of living? It enriches only a few people, and it makes the rest of the people slaves and servants because they're not going to rise up. They're going to keep drinking, and the schools are going to keep falling apart. And Lennox, I'm saying this because you see, to build a society, Lennox, we have to have etiquette and we have to have social norms. And we are disrespectful to each other. We will insult each other. We will put you down and we joke about it and we laugh about it. And we say, hey, we're good. But when we go to America and other countries, yeah, we follow the rules well quickly. But when we come back here, yeah, you let loose. You throw the bottle out there, you do whatever you want. And now another holiday coming up again, we got a party, party, party. And children have school and they're going to school, have to get at 5 o'clock in the morning. And, it just, I just feel like we live in a state of recklessness. And I feel like even your own villagers you can't even trust because if you were to say, hey, can you stop that? They will come with a gun and shoot you. You have to be so frightened. And I don't know if other people feel that way because I talk to people outside and they say, man, I don't know, Trinidad is real dangerous, eh? And I said, yes, it is because we've got some gangs fighting now. And now they're shooting randomly. So if you're outside and a gang come and start shooting on the road, you could get killed. On top of getting a home invasion and getting robbed and raped and kidnapped and all the other stuff that's going on, while this prime minister is telling us that our standard of living is fine and he has all this money coming in and we will never see a penny of it. So I thank you so much, Lennox, for giving me time on the air and to speak on your program. I appreciate it. I feel like I should converse with you more, but I don't know. Sometimes I just want to vent, and I want people to hear what I have to say, even though some of them criticize me. I feel bad, but I want to just say my condolences to the Pandey family. I remember my mother always speaking about the Pandey, Mr. Pandey, and she said in Chagonas there was a big march, and this is during the Black Power movement, and she said they were marching, and they were in like where the Kipalanis used to be, I think somewhere around there. That was all farmlands in those days. And she said how they had were gonna kill a big bison and roast it or a big bull or something, and Pandey as part of that group. And all of a sudden, the helicopters came and the government smashed everything, and everybody had to run. That's what they do. PNM did that. So you know what you're gonna do. You just have to hope and pray that the next generation will learn a little more, and and maybe who knows what. Yeah, that was my comment, Lennox. Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
very much.
giving me your
Thank you.
time.
Thank you very much, of course, for your contribution. And all the best to you and your family as well. I wish for you all what you wish for yourself. But clearly, people, the die has been cast. Let's face it. This has gone, as the last caller said, beyond duplicitous behavior. This has gone beyond bipolarism. This has gone beyond a man who clearly is suffering from a mental complex that can only be characterized as, of course, sociopathic. Let's go straight, of course, to the other call. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Lennox. How you going?
I'm all right. I survived and I'm back here.
Yes, greetings for the new year. Hope everything work out the way it's supposed to work out for you with protection, especially.
Thank
and
you.
for myself and my loved ones and everybody else outside there.
Yes.
Well, let me offer my condolences to the Pandey family, the end of an era of a great politician in Mr. Bastille Pandey. He
Icon,
was
yes.
one for the people when he had the term in government. But unfortunately, by Mr. Robinson, he was cheated out of a second term. And I thought if he had gotten a second term, the country would have been on a stronger footing at this moment in time. Because the policies that Mr. Pandey was bringing was all for the people, not for the people who in government to be taking everything and leaving scraps for the people at all.
Yes.
One case in point was the disability grant, which his government piloted, right, when they were in office. And when that grant started off was at $600, right? And over the period of time that he was in power, he helped raise the grant, and when Mrs. Bissetta took office, she raised it also. The PNM only give you another $100 here and $100 there, but the grant is started is at $2,000 at this moment in time. And it's something that a lot of disabled people benefit from who wasn't getting assistance from the government itself. So that is one thing I'll always remember Mr. Pandey for instituting that on behalf of the disabled people outside there who are challenged and cannot work or cannot help themselves. So I want to thank him for doing that for the people. Yeah, read out a report there, Mr. Lennox.
Yes.
I think the PNM have the EBC and all the CSO in their pocket. All that reported for coming from the CSO is a pack of gerrymandering. Nothing in that is truth. What part are them talking about unemployment being solved in this time and age? There know more people out of job who can't get a job. There are people outside there begging they can't get nothing. The CSOs are a waste of time, and all them thing they project is the opposite. I didn't know where they get them figures from, or where it is they get those reports from, but it's not truth. And I'll tell you something, and people will wake up to this. You see, all that minimum wage they still giving people, if them feel these business people and them going and pay all that minimum wage to these workers, they're damn wrong because what they're gonna go and do is cut back on the workers and them hours. And if there are 3 workers, they'll get rid of one and pay 2. So let them think that the minimum wage is going to be something beneficial to most of these workers. The businesses itself going to cut back on those hours for those workers, and in some instances, they're gonna make some of these workers do the work at 3 people rather than 2. So it's a double whammy for the workers themselves. Because they might be getting something on one hand, but the business people themselves going to take back on the next hand. And there's nothing that this BLM could do right that could help the people in this country. I only see more hardship for the people, right? All this about crime, the murder rate done, 1 or 2 people on dead already for the day. So I know what I'm talking about, crime being curbed and all this other foolishness. They'll never stop it. Have a good day, Lennox.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, my friend. And we must be realistic because as I was indicating before the several calls came, that it appears as deja vu. That is something Rowley would have said in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, and of course 2020 and 2021 would have been, of course, COVID would have been the new whipping boy that would have prevented or hamburg or hindered them from implementing what he said for that will happen in 2024. But we must be conscious because it's clear that whilst we have no definitive and we know that he will go to 2025, but we have to be conscious that there may well be an election in the air, because in order for him to implement that, he must say where the money coming from. Notice inside of that, he hasn't said where the money coming from, one, but he has given you a plethora of promises. 1, 2. He did not mention anything about property tax in that statement that he made, and so, of course, optimistic, and so what I consider to be the failed and the disappointing and the inability to generate the utopia that he talked about back in 2015. Notice that. Not an iota. And then it sounded to me as though it was another budget statement that he read out. Because one would have expected that those issues that he raised, the police, employment, the generation of, even though he hasn't told us the source, but certainly given the impression that things are going to be much better as he painted a rosy picture for 2024, tells me that he is under pressure to call an election. Or put another way, the pressure will cause him to call an election. Understand that? Because it's deja vu. It's as if we were there before. And the man has no compunction to, of course, put pen to paper and to issue that to the national community, knowing full well that those were regurgitated promises and initiatives that were, of course, outlined over the last 8 years. So it is correct to dismiss it, to let him know that what is required now is election. He must understand that he must get the hell out of office because they are conmen, they are criminals, they are a group of individuals who have no compassion, no compunction, and no policies, program, and wishes for the benefit of Trinidad and Tobago in its optimum degree and extent. Understand that. And we must make him know that and make him understand that in our action in 2024. Let's go straight to the lines. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Mr. Lennox and all the listeners, and condolences to our fighting lion. May he rest in peace.
Yes, indeed.
A pleasant and happy, prosperous in fight coming in the new year forward. Uncle Lennox, the statement Pete Rowley talk is just the whole budget, as you say. Because if unemployment,
Can you watch it?
and they say employment is only at 3%, right? Unemployment is only 3%. He come and say unemployment, right, only gone up by 3%, so which means we fully employed. So he think people are stupid with the dead people he bring from Ghana to hoodwink the supporters and them in this new year. But he's dead coming back to haunt him. And may the Honorable Basil Pandit take him and carry him to hell, and send him up to the bottomless pit. Because India and he, all they care about is the dragon gas. And he stayed there as Prime Minister to see the deal come through. But I want to ask on your program, and I take the responsibility with you as my lawyer. Rowley, how much you going to benefit privately with that deal? Excuse. Rowley, how much you going to benefit you, India, as Chot Young? All the whole treasury, 8 years, going on the 9th year, we can't finish bill. And you're talking about you do things good. You lie about a watch on your hand. You lie about every single thing for the 8 years. And you suffer the people. Nothing for the people. And now you're coming to say economic prosperity lies in the 2024 for the 2025 general election. Then the dead he dealing with have to have them pay them supporters really to pay any time, as I say. Because you know why? In we grandfather and grandmother time, they could not read and write. And Eric William fooled them with George Wimpy and built all kind of industry by thieving all the money. Up to this day, Brian Manning can't get the number away called I have hidden. And SPDA, all of them close down and they do. And then coming on them, they roll away with billions of dollars in heritage. And now we come to say prosperity. You just already regurgitated everything, thinking people is fool. And you know, Mr. Lennox,
yes,
it have those propaganda machine and the narrative of the PNM, stooge and them, will say, yeah, that is true. But facts, not where you see the facts on the Hansard, same $4 billion in national security can't buy. They can't buy nothing for the Coast Guard. But I say no, that he porous border, he go down and get in 14 months, just like how the next one, the trade minister, say that flower going down. But in 14 months, we have to wait now to get the Coast Guard boat up and running. So 14 months will take me over the general election next year. So you see, that's what the propaganda talk and all talk. But we want to them, and the public want to, they just fast track Christmas season, where they see the suffering and hardship. Not even harm. The only harm coming is with the criminal element. And our sweetness is when diabetes kicking in because you're hungry. Uncle Lennox, thanks for the call, and may condolences to the Pandey family, and we lost a great one, and a true patriot of this country. Forward ever, backward never. May his soul rest in peace.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Yeah, because remember, it was just before Christmas, they told us, he and Short Young told us that, listen, they give us a Christmas gift. Short Young signed something for 30 years in Venezuela and tell us it's a Christmas gift. Rowley told us that money from the gas that would come as a consequence and the monetizing thereof from the very dragon field, we will, of course, benefit. But what he has failed to tell us, as he did in that particular New Year's message, as if it is money in hand, at max or at minimum, it will take 4 years before that gift manifests itself, that we could benefit as a people. I mean, this fella is totally insane, you know. This fellow reminds me of the Latin expression non compos mentis, of unsound mind. And he goes even further, which is, of course, his not just dunderheadedness, and not just irrationality, and not just talking nonsense, and not just, of course, generating pie in the sky scenarios that clearly has no basis in our experiences on a daily basis in Trinidad and Tobago, and the rolling out of their policies and programs that never brings the benefit that they beforehand, like he did in that address, manifest or we can witness. Come on. So it is clear that there's one or two things. If he is not mentally deranged, if he is not a sociopath, which of course we know he is, having regard to all of the circumstances of this fella alone and how he has manipulated and undermined and of course generate the shambalism of government and the disrespect of the rule of law, and of course the subverting of the separation of powers, and of course infiltrating independent institutions so that he could remain in office. And I cannot, and I must, of course, it's my duty so to do, to say Tobago know him more than any one of us in Trinidad. This man is an alien. He is a Tobagonian, and Tobagonians rejected him. They spit him out. They vomit him out. So he is, in effect, a cadaver. He is, of course, his stench, the stench of his evil is so overwhelming that the people of Tobago continue, of course, even though he's in Trinidad, to cork the nose, to cork the noses. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Lennox. Lennox, can I make another contribution? Can I make a contribution?
Yes, go ahead, man. Yes, this is the place.
All right. All right. You see, we just can't look at the Prime Minister just with isolation of just in Trinidad, you know what I mean? And talk about his bad leadership over us. That is kind of a falsity, because he's also representing us internationally and globally, and also within CARICOM. And he's devoid of ideas. He's devoid of any kind of goals that he wants to set for us. So he has not only failed us locally, he has failed us internationally and globally, I would say. And I'll say the reasons why quickly. You see, he's not a good negotiator. In all these trips he took abroad with the rich oil companies, those oil companies, they dominate. They dominate. And you just have to look at what's happening in Nigeria, in Ghana, in all these countries where you see these big oil companies are there. They are there to exploit. And they will bribe their way to get their way. And it's a fact. If you read any newspaper, you'll see Shell had big settlements, even BP and all these other companies. So they have to form partnerships with government. And who they have to deal with? Corrupt politicians who will shake their hands and say, well, we will form a partnership, we will do the logistics, and then he'll say, I'll get my lawyer, I'll get this guy there, I'll get this other guy there, and we all have jobs. And yeah, how much money we making on this deal? $5 billion. Okay, well, this is the budget we have. Everybody making this amount. Oh, you like that house up there in the mountain? That's worth $5 million. That's yours next year, you know. We get this job project done. That's how they wheel and deal. They're not going to look and say, geez, you know, these are areas in my country where I need to rebuild. We need to fix all these roads, and we need to get people access to certain things. And we get this money coming in. Well, you know something, our people really poor. Let's create some jobs and all. We get more investors to come in here and maybe manufacture stuff where our people can learn innovation. None of that. He wouldn't do that. It's too much expensive work. They could go to the hospital and say, look, we have all these companies here. Can we give every woman who has a baby, even if she has 5 children, she's having another baby, we're giving her a little hamper bag, a diaper bag. She'll have a diaper, she'll have a bottle, she'll have information, a book, and she'll go on home. She'll have good follow-up services with women, parental planning, and all these things. We should also, when he talks to CARICOM, he should be talking to us too. He should be representing all of us in CARICOM, because when one country lifts up its standard of living, it trickles over to the other CARICOM nations, because then they look to the leader of that country and say, well, we want to aspire to be just like Trinidad. Trinidad is doing really well. We want to be like Trinidad. Like right now, since the PNM was in government in the 60s to today, CARICOM should have had its own satellite for South America and for the whole region. We should have had one currency for the whole region. We should have a really good open border training programs where our people were for years now could be traveling back and forth, working and helping other regions. Never happened. Never happened on the PNM. And they'll never do it. They kill the program, the training aid, national training agency. That's a joke. And there's so much corruption within that division there. You see, they don't want you to move up, Lennox. And he is a poor leader for this. He keeps us in the barracks. The way he treats us and the way he speaks to us is the stereotype that foreign countries have of poor brown people living in third world countries with corrupt leaders. And he perpetuates that stereotype. You know, Pandey never did that, I have to say. Pandey always had class and charisma, and the way he spoke was very intelligently. And I'll never forget, I'll share something quick. I was watching a Parliament documentary about Pandey, right? And he said something, and it moved me deeply. He said when he started in his early days as an activist, he traveled all to the villages and rural areas of Trinidad. And he said, I never saw poor Indian people and even black people, but he said he was visiting more Indian people living in such poverty and living in such isolation, cut off from everything. And that is what the PNM likes. And when they're ready, they will start saying, okay, well, we need to now have gentrification. We need to bring in a housing project in the middle of a village. And we're not telling all the way, we're just going to build it and put it there. We won't get your input. And that is how they operate. That is not community building. That is building chaos. And you see it across the whole Caribbean region. They're all doing the same thing. I feel like if I hope Kamala's listening and the UNC supporters are listening, this kind of government that we have is not going to take us forward. And when we get the UNC comes in, you're going to be under scrutiny and you'll have to answer and follow through on everything. Not to the PNM people, loyalists, but to the people who put you in office, because we want you to be accountable now. Because that's what you really want to do. You want to be accountable. You don't want to hide. And the PNM, they're not accountable. We see it all the time. So, what can you do in a situation like that? And the prime minister will only give interviews to the people he likes. What kind of leader is this? Or invite the press to only the press who is good to him. I give up on this man. Lennox? All right. Take care, Lennox. Thank you so much.
You're being real, and one has to accept that you're being pragmatic. That has been the experience. Experience is the best teacher. And just in matter of regional and international, I want to tell you this. Now, what the careful observer would realize, or the casual observer for that matter, not even a careful observer, will see that he uses international developments for clearly what is considered to be sinister local reasons. You know what I say? I say that he uses examples of regional and international for sinister local reasons, and to, of course, try to convince himself or put another way, those who care to listen and are still recalcitrant or are still in denial, because he believes that somehow he can hoodwink his way to remain where he is and his government. And just to move on, because we have Kamala Persad-Bissessa's statement as well for the new year, so we have to play that as well. But just to give an example, let us look at COVID. COVID, he went into Europe. He went, of course, to the United States, where there are multi-million of population, and then make the comparison with Trinidad that has us just 1 million, thereabout, 1.5 million people. And then tell us that, listen, we have a parallel system and we are doing much better than them. Because look at how much people are dying in these countries. It is an asinine comparison. You cannot compare a population with 100 and something million people compared to just our measly 1 point something. And even in those circumstances, there are statistical formulae that could make the comparison. For example, the same countries would have been considered as far as crime is concerned. How come Trinidad and Tobago is the 6th most dangerous crime-ridden country in the world? So there are formulas to treat with issues like that, but he brings it to the local population for local consumption, so as to fool is never, of course, to have a decent and objective assessment as to where we are, because it's always about looking to get some kind of political advantage, and always it turns out to be either a failure or total and absolute disappointment. And staying with, of course, COVID, you would see that he will not talk about, in the case of COVID, will not talk about regional countries, Grenada, St. Vincent, and so on. Notice he won't do that. Because in these countries, you will have 2 and 3 persons dying. So he wants to go to the metropolitan countries that have quite a large, not that they would have been perfect or in any way not subjected, of course, to the ravages of the disease. But the fact of the matter is, that is what he does. And of course, you notice in this presentation again, he talks about, of course, how the other islands are not doing well, or put another way, that there are problems in every country of the world, and Trinidad and Tobago is no exception. But I want to tell Dr. Rowley, stop playing the ass and believing that somehow you can fool all the people all the time. Stop playing the ass and stop taking the people of Trinidad and Tobago for granted. Stop it. Because none of them in the Caribbean would have had the resources of Trinidad and Tobago. The Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, ECLAC, based in Chile, actually several years ago was advocating, because it is an economic, of course, an entity monitoring Caribbean and Latin American countries as far as the health of their economies are concerned. And they recommended that 6 countries some time ago be subjected to or qualify for debt relief. Trinidad and Tobago was never one. Even Jamaica, they recommended, Grenada, St. Vincent, Barbados, and so on, not Trinidad and Tobago. So we are unique in terms of the resources that we have. And of course, the issue here is equity and equitable distribution and the management thereof for further multiplication and augmenting of those resources, so as to satisfy our citizens, whether we invited over 100,000 Venezuelans to be here. Our circumstances are much different, and therefore Dr. Rowley cannot make that kind of comparison. And I'll show you how dangerous this man is in terms of trying to hoodwink and deceive and gaslight us. He of course, talked about what he created, Heritage, the Heritage Company, the oil company that replaced what Petrotrin was doing. And when, of course, he was talking about Ukraine and Russia, he talked about that windfall, $8 billion came not because of increased production of a barrel of oil, but because of the increased doubling of the price of a barrel of oil, and therefore you got a windfall. I want to show you how dangerous he is. And then, of course, he will take credit for it and trying to generate a square peg in round hole argument. You know, it is totally incongruent. irrational, absolutely buffoonery. Because you see, for a person like me, if it is that the war between Ukraine and Russia generated a windfall of $8 billion, and he wants us to only focus on heritage because he mashed up Petrotrin and created that, and then therefore to justify somehow that as a result of doing that, that is what the benefits of Trinidad and Tobago is in such a circumstance, in such an accident, in such a serendipity, in such a chance situation. It's like buying the blasted lotto. How often that will come? You can't plan for that, but it came. But the point I'm making by saying all of that is that he has not focused on what the possibilities would have been if the oil refinery was operated. That's the point I am making. You ever say? I say he has focused on heritage and the windfall, 8 billion windfall, but he has not lifted one iota of a comment with respect to if the oil refinery was operating in such a circumstance, including, of course, that of COVID. Because in COVID, the oil producers, because of the difficulty and the cost of restarting pumps and so on in the oil industry, they prefer to have the pumps flowing and the oil running. And they were giving away oil, $1 a barrel, $1 a barrel during COVID. So imagine if the oil refinery was operating, the amount of storage capacity that we would have had might have had to be increased because of $1 a barrel. Some were telling you, get your tanker and come and take oil in the Middle East. And India benefited, Singapore benefited, Japan benefited, China benefited. But instead, you tell us, well, what could have been if it is that the oil refinery was operating? He remained silent because he wants to make us asses. He wants us to not accept that it was a flawed decision made. And has the audacity and the temerity to still say that it is on oil and gas and fossil fuel type operations that Trinidad and Tobago will still depend, but you closed down Petrotrin and telling us as a new aspect, as a new dimension to his multiple excuses, is that Trinidad and Tobago decided to come out of the refining business. That's what he's telling us today. But before that, of course, he told us that it was a bullet payment of over $800 million. And we know now that was hogwash simply because the oil company that was created by, of course, the Oilfield Workers Trade Union, OWTU, was prepared to give upfront $700 million, but you refuse it. And you still went after Impotent Day, and he said that the company that is buying the oil refinery will not have to study the lien on that asset. In other words, the creditors that are being owed in metropolitan countries that have of course loaned the then Petrotrin under, of course, a despicable and incompetent and wasteful and profligate management, Malcolm Jones, and those fake and, of course, amorphous projects that he invested in and frittered away our billions of dollars. And that when he came in, says he's a good friend and took that matter out of court. And therefore, what we are left with respect, of course, to the Petrotrin, and of course, the reason for closing it down is that he himself would have been closely investigated because of his ties with, of course, the owner of AV Drilling, the company that was accused of engaging, of course, in fake oil, being, of course, sent to the oil refinery. But more than that, in spite of that, if it was around, if the oil refinery was around, then it means, therefore, that the Ukraine war, the Ukraine-Russian war, we would have been bathing in money. We would have been stridently. Maybe that might have caused people to go out to the streets. I am anticipating or surmising that people would have gone onto the streets if the oil refinery was operating and benefiting from $1 a barrel. In addition to the war between Ukraine and Russia, would have been bathing in U.S. money. We would have been bathing in U.S. money. So it would have been absolutely not only ridiculous, but evil, wicked, and diabolical. And the underbelly of this evil administration would have been shown if they, in such circumstance, continue at minimum to insist on property tax. They would have
why we can sit up with confidence, because Biden, the president of the United States, was telling, of course, the oil refiners across there, producing, of course, all of these energy products, oil, gas, aviation fuel, etc., from the oil refining, from the refining exercise. Tell them, listen, like a little want to put legislation to cause all to ease the consumers, ease them up, because all of making a killing, all of making a windfall. But then the people end up getting a little benefit from and have a little more content, so that is what Biden was telling the oil refiners in the United States. But Rowley remained silent on it, as he has remained silent in this particular event, because all that talking about hospital construction, about road construction, about more employment, that he mysteriously and amorphously suddenly brought out. He's yet to say anything about. Harry, I know that, yeah.
Testing. Yes, I know that there's a voice issue. I think I have corrected it.
Yes, it's an audio problem, Lennox.
Yeah. I think I've corrected it. So check it out now.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Yeah. I heard it in studio here. Thanks. Yes, I trust that that has been corrected. The sort of what I consider to be the Android voice that you were hearing, that was inadvertent. It was not my doing. I suppose when I get, of course, into the subject, I love to, of course, expatiate in a particular way. Yes, so I'm hearing myself now corrected. But the fact of the matter is, people, that he has remained silent on these matters, and therefore you know that he's up to no good. You know that he's a conman extraordinaire and will not, of course, address those fundamental problems. And let me tell you, what unemployment of 3%, I think he might have said in that 1% as well, he might have gone all there. People, when and he talked about inflation. Let me conclude with both of these items, because we have to be edified in case you are stupefied. You know what I say? I say we have to be edified in case you are stupefied by the nonsense that this man talks. the statisticians and they, who of course monitor and they take the raw material to convert it into something that we can analyze, are talking about, of course, unemployment, for example. Well, people who stop work, looking for work, are not seen. So they don't have a job, but they stop looking for work. Then they are not captured in such an analysis or such a data collection. So what that tells me, having regard to my own and your own experiences all over the place, the people who could not, tongue was a ghost, and of course the people were not purchasing as one would have expected if there was full employment. Because what he's saying, there is full employment. It means therefore there's a considerable amount of persons in that supposed to be in the workforce that are not looking for work. And therefore, you are left with a figure that is skewed in terms of real unemployment in Trinidad and Tobago. And the same thing applies, but from a different perspective with respect to inflation. If people do not have money to buy, and you go to the grocery and you see, of course, a tin of Milo for, let's say, $10. But the businessman has put his markup and he's looking for sale. He wants a turnover. The faster it leaves his shelf, the greater the profit margin, not the profit margin, but the intake in terms of being able, of course, to get a profit. So he could put something in the bank and he could, of course, reinvest, etc., and pay his overheads and salaries and so on. Well, the businessmen and they would either leave the price at that level or reduce it when people are not buying. So you do not have people with the income and with the disposable part of it, so as to engage in entertainment and to buy things that would normally be considered to be a luxury for them. But they're looking all over the place to get something free. And when, of course, on a Friday or a Saturday in the central market, when, of course, perishable items such as provision and, of course, fruits, etc., they know that that thing will rotten and therefore will not be able to be sold in the following week because the market will be closed until, of course, the next business day. Then they throw it by the wayside. And people go and pick it up. People from Picton, Beetham, and so on. That is how for years that they find their Sunday meal. Understand that? You're not talking to no foolish individual, and you're not talking to people who are that dense like Rowley, or who believe that somehow he could talk that kind of hogwash and fool people. So if you do not have money, then clearly you can't buy, and inflation will appear to be low because people are not buying. People are not buying. But once you have a situation, a healthy situation, because the system is one where, of course, you have, of course, demand and supply. And if demand is high, you have an inflation. And if demand is low, then you have deflation. And therefore, that is what he is talking about. People are catching the ass, nenen, and everything else. Can't put 2 meals on the table, have difficulty in putting one for the day. And he's talking that kind of hogwash in and condense it into, of course, a so-called 2024 speech. Let's go to Kamla Prasad Bisesa and hear something serious, the man. Let's go there instead, because this man is totally out of it. Let's go to Kamla Prasad Bisesa and hear what she had to say.
Opposition leader, no Happy New Year unless urgent move to stem crime. UNC political leader Kamla Percivere and opposition leader.
Yes, indeed. So let's say
Address New Year. Leader country have fought a fresh resolve to stamp out criminality and citizens have been told to fend for themselves. In her New Year's Day message, Percivere said the number of murders, home invasions, robberies, and missing persons, a declining economy, increased costs of living, impending property taxes, and the looming increase in electricity and water rates have undoubtedly cast a shadow over Trinidad and Tobago. She pointed out that communities that were once considered safe, such as St. Augustine, St. Joseph, Chaguanas, Trinity, and Tunapuna, are highlighted as danger zones internationally. There are no government assurances of ending illegal drug and gun imports and gang warfare by sealing off the porous borders, improving surveillance, and boosting detection rates. Percivere noted there are no efforts to improve the inefficient criminal justice system through radical and urgent reform. She accused the Prime Minister of continuing to hide from engaging the opposition and all stakeholders in anti-crime talks but preferred to continue with his public relations game in which every citizen loses. While the country is being battered with violent lawlessness, the crucial national security portfolio remains in the hands of an abominably inept minister. Percivere said that there are no comprehensive plans to address the many broken sectors in the country, including plans to grow the economy and create jobs. I genuinely wish every citizen a Happy New Year, but I know there can be no happy one unless strategic interventions are urgently implemented to stem the criminality in our land and to fix the broken sectors. We must work today to improve safety, security, and prosperity for all for there to be happiness in the new year and to prevent tomorrow's generation from inheriting a criminal-run failed state where the killing of men, women, and children becomes normalized to the point of no return, she stressed. The opposition leader said the UNC has been presenting concrete plans and policy alternatives aimed at addressing the pressing challenges facing TNT to crafting solutions that prioritize the well-being of all citizens, irrespective of background or circumstance. A few examples, she said, we will pass stand your ground legislation to give you the right to use lethal force within the sanctity of your homes to protect yourself and your loved ones from criminals. We will ensure that law-abiding citizens can easily access legal firearms to protect themselves, their families, and their property. We will implement judicial and prison reforms as well as retooling the TTPS with modern training, equipment, and a competent leadership team to eliminate the criminals. We will bring back community comfort patrols throughout Trinidad and Tobago to ensure you do not have to pay for private security patrols in your neighborhood. We will widen the suite of funding for educational and training programs including the government assistance for tuition expenses, GATE, program to once again ensure that every young citizen has access to an education for a better life away from crime.
Yes, indeed. But she said citizen patrol. So you take away the responsibility of a fella having to pay extra money to keep a security guard or hire a security firm. That makes a lot of sense to me. And that is more realistic. But to tell us that you going, and let me tell you something. Do not put it beyond Rowley and they want to recruit 1,000 police officers to make this country a police state. That is how sinister these fellas are. To make it a police state so that they could stay in government because they know it's blue lights and silver bracelet inevitably. But the fact of the matter is that Kamala and they have a cadre of professionals, lawyers, doctors, bankers, etc., who are brighter. Rowley and they are, of course, on a mission to generate mediocres and generate Trinidad and Tobago to be a mediocrity. That is what they're about. That's what they're about. So it's clear that UNC is the answer. Let's go straight to the lines.
Hello.
Pleasant good night. Welcome and all the best.
Yes, all the best to you and condolences to the Pandey family. It's so sad. I'll miss him.
Yes.
Oh, So, Lennox, I listening to you. I listen to the leader, Miss Bissessa. But what I want to say is, this position we're in right now with these criminals in this brotherhood gang.
Yes, go ahead.
I listening to the television and this thing crossing up. So what I'm saying is this criminal gang they in the brotherhood that experts study. They told people about this criminal gang, the brotherhood. What they do is they pauperize people in countries where they open up oil producing companies to rob the foreign exchange. The reason why they have these oil producing companies is to thief all how, and people don't understand that. And we have to come out bold and let people know we know the whole truth about this brotherhood. Okay? A country that they rob a lot of foreign exchange from, and they want them, these heads in the brotherhood, like Alex said, is Ecuador. And Ecuador become a failed state right now. It's a narco state. Okay? So Trinidad is a narco state. Whether we like to hear it or not, is a narco state, is a failed state. And all this fixing back, these people need to be sanctioned. I've been saying that a long time now. The way to break them is to sanction the heads. And the head of this country is this government. Right? So we are reaching nowhere. This thing where people, you and all us be talking about how, they will be arrested. I don't see that here in Trinidad, Lennox. We need international help because they're robbing the citizens of this country. Okay, and pauperizing us on a daily basis. This thing with this property tax is not fair. All of that is the thief, right? And they promise you project. All of that the experts tell you. I said a project, and they're fixing this and they're fixing that. But it's nothing. All how you turn it around, it has come back to zero. And promises and promises. That is how they tell them to talk. Right? Rowley is not running this country on his own. Rowley, together with the brotherhood, he tell you that. And if you break rank, we will damage you politically. He have to keep up with the gangsterism in this gang. Plain talk, bad manners. People must understand that. All this set of fancy talk and say, we ain't want that in 2020, 2024. We want this government out. We can't wait for 2025. It's dangerous. It will be dangerous for us. Okay, Lennox, have a good night.
Yeah, same to you, my dear. And I share your anxiety as well. I share your anxiety, but the reality is that they are cloaked, covered, protected with the legal apparatus of the state. And you are quite right. There must be a concerted effort to attract international attention to Trinidad and Tobago. That is what at least the corridor transformation is all about. Because you will see, we already have a list of all of the major leaders of the world to draw attention to Trinidad and Tobago, and of course, the level of anti-democratic conduct and the level of miscreants and misbehavior and criminal conduct in office and the abuse and the misuse and the incompetence that is Dr. Rowley and his government to try to stay in office, having captured government. And as I like to say, they are engaged, of course, in an auto coup. That is to say, manipulating the various institutions, whether it be the EBC, the DPP, etc., in order, of course, to stay in government. We must be able to highlight that, of course. And as a member, let me tell you one time, and as a member of Amnesty International, I am very active in terms of, and I think I said already, I have spoken, of course, to the CIA, the FBI, right in Port of Spain here, and of course I've sent information in form of a dossier to the, of course, the State Department. So I am doing my part. We are doing our part here because we understand the evil that we are saddled with. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Good night, dear Lennox.
Good night.
I don't know Trinidad is a narco state already, Lennox. Trinidad is already a narco state. And the crimes that are taking place here, black on black killing and murders like that, we don't reach already. Look up into, like I said before, it's done 2 murders for the day, and it's only 1 day in the year gone. So we headed in the direction I told you we were headed from last year. People who pretending and saying they hope that things will change. The thing is going to change at all, not while this PNM government in office. There is the whole reason why crime escalating as it is. You understand? They leave it and it go and go to the big cancer is now, and they cannot control that. We're putting plaster on the cancer, but it grow and it spread. It go into Tobago, and now Tobago, that 14 they have last year, he go to mushroom probably by 28 or more. I tell you so. Tobago won the ball this year with the kind of murder taking place because the gang infiltrate Tobago, they escape, and they're running things over in Tobago. Just like how they're running things in Trinidad. And all the Rowley Government talk all about this is about something fine, so that's parroting he too, and talking that nonsense. She had to get out of office because she has done nothing in the tenureship that she was there other than eat her food and make her stay into herself. And she wanted to bring in this one and that one. She had no clue what's going on. The wrong thing to put that woman there, and it's Rowley have to take responsibility for that. Because when Mr. Griffith was there and he was first in line for the office of that job, he moved out the man and put that lady there. So all crime and murder and all these other things, he can put it on Dr. Rowley's plate. He is responsible for that. Right? To sell the whole of this nation to the devil. Just like how he fell out with Mannion. How was it there, Lennox?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your continued, of course, contribution. And yes, there is a need, and I have said that. That's why we, of course, improve getting on to YouTube. That was one of the mission. I told you so. My problem would have been, of course, getting familiar with the technology. Now I'm fairly accurate. I'm fairly aware. I'm fairly should I say, comfortable with the technology so we could take it to the next stage. And of course, 2024 is merely, of course, a launching pad for that aggressive approach to invite international attention to Trinidad and Tobago. So I am in concert, or should I say, I am in agreement with Ms. Arima, that international attention must now be brought, and not for one moment believe that we cannot bring international attention to Trinidad and Tobago in our individual capacities. But of course, there is a need, of course, for sharing of information and for, of course, people who know to assist others. And, of course, utilizing the technology, the information technology, the communication technology in order, of course, to make it happen. Because most of those world leaders, frankly, are on Twitter. They have Twitter account, whether it be Donald Trump, whether it be, of course, Biden, whether it be, of course, the president of France, whether it be the Prime Minister of Canada. They have Twitter accounts, and of course that of the United Kingdom, and we can go on and on. Yes, so we will be selective, including, of course, that of Australia, because we did business, this government did business with them, and they need to know that our democracy is rapidly and inexorably being undermined and whittled down and emaciated, and they must know, because they will be surprisingly offended. You notice when Farley said he's writing to the United Nations, and he's writing to OAS, and he's writing, of course, to the Inter-American Commission for Human Rights. You notice Rowley got tizzick, and he was, of course, incensed that international attention will be brought to Trinidad and Tobago in that way. Notice when Kamala Prasad-Bissessar spoke about, of course, her concern with respect to Dr. Rowley Hansi-Pansian, in reality with, of course, Delcy Rodriguez, and therefore the Maduro regime. Offensive to, of course, the United States having, of course, issued a bounty for Maduro, 15 million US. I don't know if it's dead or alive, for importing narcotics into, of course, the United States. Rowley said that they were unpatriotic. Well, I want him to know that he talking boomerang talk. He is the blasted deceiver and the person who has not only pillaged our treasury and who has betrayed in the most perfidious of ways the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Before he gets the hell out of office, he wants to stay there and manipulate the system, including, of course, the law enforcement, and trying, of course, to set up a police state to protect him and his crooks. Well, the people of Trinidad and Tobago must seek external support, external assistance, external infantry to make certain that what is being purported to be and pervading as, of course, a government is really a criminal enterprise called the PNM. Let's not waste time with that. Let's go back to the lines. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Good night, and good night to those on the live also.
Good night to you.
Would you by chance have the final count of the murder rate for 2023?
570, I think about 576 thereabout. It could be one or two, but at any rate, very close to 600. 576 thereabout, yeah.
Okay. Did you hear the Guyana president New Year's message?
Is it the president or the vice president? Because the vice president, I paid attention to what he was saying, boy. They have their act together. I can tell you that.
No, I watch it on
president.
I'll take a look at it on YouTube.
Okay, I'll take a look at that.
Ifran Ali, you see that all those things that Rowley, what he said, like he took out some from the Guyana president Ifran Ali, and he said that. You know, most of the things is what I listening to what the doctor said from Guyana, the president, what he said. And I listening to this thing, I say, but like this man write out all these things from the president of Guyana. Because most of it is what he said, what they have and what we don't have, and they could do in Guyana and we can't do in Trinidad. He delete those to me. But it's almost a copycat of that Guyana's president. All those promises and everything, because Guyana have money now and they're bathing in money. So he's making all these more money in their pockets, and oh my God, real goodies. Really goodies.
Yeah, I heard the vice president, but I'll check I suppose if the vice president speaking in that way, I could really imagine what the president is saying in Ghana.
Yeah.
But there's a particular issue that I want to raise when you finish with respect to that, and of course in the context of Trinidad and Rowley and Dave. But go ahead. Yes, if you're finished. If you're not finished.
Yes, so that is what that I listen and I say, well, this is a real copy of the Guyana president message. And next thing too, this kidnapping business, you could remember in on that Manning time when they was kidnapping a whole set of business people and all that.
Yes.
And the outcome was the protective services was involved in it.
Yes, yes, and the army as well. Yeah.
Right. And you know what? But look what happened to this businesswoman in El Socorro there.
Yeah.
They say people dress in protective services. So it looked
That's
like this
right.
whole thing started to replay itself again.
Yeah, so she was none the wiser. She opened her doors, and then I was talking about deja vu. You know, like what Rowley's speech is deja vu, and you're quite right. You have brought a very important dimension to that situation. Deja vu. It appears that we have been there before.
Mm-hmm. All right, this is my contribution for tonight. I'll listen to you on
Thank you
the
very much. Because of the callers, very what I consider to be sensitive as well as acute observation. Because I said earlier that I will bring, of course, a copy of the Vice President of Guyana's New Year's greetings or address to Guyana. I did not, of course, before he came, to connect it to the possibility that Rowley would have copied their speech. I didn't look at it that way, but it's singing right. It's singing rational. It's singing plausible. Let me put it that way. That Rowley could have, of course, copied from the Guyanese. But the point I wanted to make, President Goodnight, is that Rowley knows what he is doing and the evil and what ought not to be done, but still does it because they are a criminal enterprise as opposed to a prime minister and a government. President Goodnight, welcome to the corridor. All the best for the new year.
A pleasant good night to you, Lennox, and all the best to you and your family for the new year, and to everybody on the chat. Lennox, are you saying that we need international attention? Didn't the US and Canada and other embassies send out an advisory just this week warning their citizens about the gang warfare that's going on in downtown Port of Spain?
Yes, and in St. Augustine for the first time. St. Augustine for the first time, about places where the university is.
So when we feel, when we feel that they are not paying attention, they are damn well paying attention to us. And it is not the kind of attention that we want. And this is all because of Rowley, Hines, and Erla. And Erla has no shame to come and say that there's a decrease in the increase in crime. She was so proud. 600, but it was 567, too much. And it is as though nobody cares. We are scared to leave our homes. We are scared to go anywhere now. Because you don't know when OK Corral go down to Port of Spain. And Lennox, I must compliment you on that program last night, that year in review.
Oh, yes, it was
fantastic.
I got reviews after reviews after reviews. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it went, well, I had to clock off a little right? You understand? Because the way with the rapid fireworks that was going on here to keep the dogs and them quiet. You know, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. A lot of information came out.
and who don't want to access that information, something is wrong with them. And I think you should do it monthly. I find, to raise all these issues, because you remember you were getting the phone calls and so until after 12, right?
Yes.
But it was really good, Lennox. It was really, really good. And it raised a lot of hornet's nests. It opened a lot of wounds and a lot of eyes as to what is going on in this country. And tonight, I want to ask a question. Where is Permel? The mole man, where is he?
Yeah. The Kiko
Yeah,
man.
because he was very vociferous when Kamala told them that if they didn't want the money, they can leave it. He told her that if they didn't pay them the money, they were going to vote PNM because Rowley had promised them the money. 8 years later, is Permel alive or is he dead?
Dog and the bone,
That's
he lost all.
not that's
Dog
right.
and
And not a word in English, Lennox. Not a word in English that we are hearing now with Imbat and the Clico assets. Where is he? Is he fetting? Would we hear him from tomorrow? Would we hear all the quiet voices from tomorrow? Because apparently people are scared to talk about what it is this government is doing. From the chamber to the unions to plot to everybody. Where is David Abdullah on this property tax issue? Because he was one of those that was very vociferous with Prakash Ramada when they were axing the tax. Fella from Tobago, one of the Macs. Yes. I don't know if it's Lyndon Mac. When he was talking about a petition being signed and he's asking Andy for their support. Tonight, I want to say, Mr. Mac, you have my support. Anytime you bring out that petition, Santa Cruz will be right there with you. Because too much of wrong things going on in this country, and all the people very vociferous under Kamala's government, they have gone into it. Is it that they are so scared of Keith Rowley and the PNM government? Or are they agreeing with what it is Keith Rowley and the PNM government doing? But they had mouth then, but they don't have it now. But Lennox, the longest rope has an end. And I hope 2024 is the year that the PNM rope comes to an end. Because I don't know how much of this that we can take. There are too many, there are too many mocking pretenders out there. There are too many hypocrites out there. All you have seen how Keith Rowley is destroying this country, but can still bowl great as the PNM. And Kamala must go. Right? Kamala not in charge of anything, but Kamala must go. I can't understand why. Kamala in opposition has more ideas. Kamala is bringing out more issues than Rowley in government. Look at how she exposed them with the heritage tax. And Imbat had to come and admit that whoever inherits your property will have to pay that tax. And you want to come and tell me that all you're shouting for Kamala must go? Kamala not going anywhere. All is studying Kamala physical and mental health, but all is not studying the madman who run in the country. The madman and the leper who run in the country. All is not studying them. And I want to tell Imbert, you said that we will vomit for the next budget. God forbid you might even live to read our budget. Because God watching all you. Lennox, thanks a lot for listening to my 2 cents. Take care and have a good night and a happy new year to all. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, indeed, people. Well, you know, time flies on this program, especially these days. I don't know why, but the time seems to be getting smaller and shorter. What I wanted to do today was to, of course, continue from last night, because I have a heaping set of video and therefore confirmation, or should I say proof, instantaneous proof of what I am saying, especially for those who are sycophants and those who are apologists for this group of miscreants. So what I think I will do, because we started on time, so I will not, of course, belabor further. But let me just take this call one time, and then, of course, I will just highlight something that I think should be highlighted tonight, and not wait until tomorrow. A pleasant good night. Welcome. Welcome and all
Good
the best.
night again, my honorable doctor.
Yes.
Now, remember I told you I'm waiting for Miss Arima to call.
Yes, you did.
And I'm glad she called. Miss Santa Cruz, oh, love you too bad. And let me tell you something. We know this bunch of jackass and them that we have here that run in this country is a waste of time. We have to get rid of them, my brother. Right? And we have one of the biggest problem in this Trinidad and Tobago is that people don't understand what English language is about. Right? Right?
Yes.
English language is a hard language to understand. As related it say, my brother, we have to get rid of these people and them. Somewhat me, I want to watch me. My grandchildren and my daughter just came back home tonight after a weekend spending by she husband and she mother-in-law. And I want to get rid of these people and them because I don't want my children, my grandchildren to suffer under these people's hand. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you very much, of course. And because of what I wanted, as I said, I wanted to have a continuation of last night. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to improvise a bit in a few minutes again that I have, that I will take, in fact. And don't forget, of course, that tomorrow morning, the ground report, Andy, Mike, and myself will be back on. But this would have been the tail end of tonight if I would have gotten the opportunity. But clearly, you were very exciting. You were very, of course, intense, and you called regularly. So therefore, substantive part of the program was consumed by, of course, telephone call, which I don't mind. It means therefore I have material for tomorrow. But of course, tomorrow's material I already have as well. But let me just, of course, end the few moments again with, of course, with this. Because remember, yesterday when we did the review, the common thread was the integrity of these people, Rowley and his entire team, the integrity, their transparency, their inability to account, their accountability. And let's go straight, of course, to the line one time. Yes, indeed. In spite of the fact that we are winding down. A pleasant good night.
Lennox,
yes.
According to the TPPS, it was 576 people that get voted for 2023, right?
76.
But you know, it had a fella, I remember I tell you about him, he and his father getting an allegation. He hit his father in the head with a rolling pin. You know, the old man dead. He ain't come here, you know. Like murder too.
They want to cry it over into 2024, so as to keep it a decrease in the increase madness or illogical assessment. Yeah.
That is a murder too, because the man dead after suffering injuries. And furthermore, it have 100 and something people missing. And I think they make up the brunt of that murder over 600. You will find people this year, right? They will find people this year in the bush or in some drain or some precipice. that was missing last year, and they will not count them into no murdery. How about Goodwill, Lennox?
Yes, but more than that, let me let you into their to their sinister an attempt, of course, to try to salvage some kind of dignity and some kind of hoodwinking, literally, but at the same time trying to palliate, try to, of course, make it acceptable and palatable. This level of murders, this country, and this is responsibility of the police, I suspect. People who would have died a month or two after they come out of hospital and so on from the wound, that is not captured in the statistics, you know. So all those persons who, they say, got wounded 3 and 4 at a time in the drive-bys, when you monitor them, you would see that they died prematurely from the wound that they would have suffered or they would have, of course, sustained, but they are not captured in the statistics. So it is clear that there's over 600, but the officialdom will say to us that that is, of course, being irresponsible, and the statistics doesn't reflect that, the official statistics, because theirs are the official. But of course, that is a matter for argument that is for another subject that we will deal with. But let me go straight, of course, as I was saying, that last night's exercise was one of identifying and confirming and ratifying and solidifying and, of course, rendering irrefutable, rendering a situation where it cannot be argued that Rowley and they have orchestrated and from the beginning conspired to deceive, to steal, to mismanage, to generate wealth for their friends and themselves, to engage in the undermining of our democracy, breach the rule of law, pillage and raid, and savagely engage in corruption and corrupt acts generated through procurement shenanigans, the larceny of our resources, and the creation as a consequence of a kleptocracy or a bunch of kleptocrats assembled by Rowley, the head kleptocrat, in order, of course, to deprive the poor, the vulnerable, and even cerebral palsy children and people so afflicted and the dirt poor in the society. Let us take this call. A pleasant good night, welcome, and all the best to you and your family.
Lennox, good night, boy. I know you want to wrap up.
Yes.
But you know Icon gone, the great Basio Pandi.
Yes. I mentioned it, yes.
The first time I ever saw Mr. Pandi was in 1966. He came to visit Sierra James on the same street that I was living in. Like Linden Street in Cuba. We had a net at the side of the gentleman's house where we used to practice cricket and so on.
All right.
And he waved to the ground. And the owner of that house asked me to work for them, for the workers and farmers party. He said, we can't have a seat. We don't have a chance, but we must put up a show. Must put up a fight. Always remember Mr. Pandey with that.
Right. Yeah, but that's how you do it. You try until you succeed.
Yeah, he had a hippie in them days, you know.
Yes.
Long hair. So I just want to send out a short message to the business community. Stand up and fight. Don't talk about leaving the country and running and going away. Remember Mr. Pandey, he was a fighter. Remember President Badis Maharaj and all them. Only stand your ground. As your opposition leader say, we're going. You're staying right here. Right? I ain't staying too long enough because I know you're tired.
Yes, boy. Yeah, I want to go take a fight. Yes.
Yeah, we will talk tomorrow.
Yes, indeed, my friend. Thanks very much for calling anyway. And all the best to you and your family.
Man. Yeah.
Yeah, bye-bye. Yes, indeed. So I want to be as compendious as possible now. I want to say that it was character assessment of these individuals, and they have turned out to be total scams, crooks. They engage in skullduggery, and the intention, their raison d'etre, their reason for being in office is not to serve, but for us to serve them. They turn it around and arrogate unto themselves as if they put themselves there. And we have a duty just as how we put them in, whether they like it or not, and they are in a state of perpetual delusion and illusion. We must put their tails out. Rowley, stop provoking the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Your entire cabinet has to go. And I want to leave you with this, because Imbert is one of the most arrogant individuals. We saw him, of course, recently using, of course, a very, what I consider to be obscene expressions, referring, of course, to bowel material, diarrhea, and gastrointestinal disorder, all of that. But I want to tell you the level of hypocrisy that is built into these people. When they were out of government after Manning, he said he will change. He said he will not engage in the kind of arrogance and the kind of contempt and the kind of deception and the kind of not just dismissive behavior of those he considers to be lower than him, because we give him the opportunity, and that is their conduct. And they engage, of course, in condescending and, of course, all kinds of arrogance and hubris conduct. I want you to listen to this. We'll play it again tomorrow. But listen to this. Look at this.
He's not always been the most pleasant cabinet minister, but Diego Martin Northeast MP called him but wants to change his image. The defeat at the polls almost 3 weeks ago have put things into perspective for the former works minister. He now has more time for his wife and son.
I went to a movie for the first time in about 5 years. I went and saw Iron Man 2 with my son, a week ago. These are the things I could not do. I just had no time to do that.
Imbert, who is a contractor and design engineer, is not on the hunt for a job right away, but there are things he still wants to accomplish in his spare time. He also wants to give his academic career a boost.
That I always wanted to do a PhD, and I was encouraged to do it. I didn't have the time. I'm certainly going to do it now. So I'm going to be doing a PhD in construction law during this period in opposition.
He even jokes that he has repairs to do on his home that are a decade overdue. His constituency has also been neglected and he plans to fix that. Imbert was part of the former PNM government for the past 9 years. He admits it has aged him somewhat. He says being in politics and serving as a government minister tends to consume you, and adjusting to a seat on the opposition bench in the parliament will take a lot of getting used to.
And I'm not happy about it, but I'm coming to terms with it. I've been here before, but it was so long ago I forgot.
His time in opposition, he says, will be used to rebrand his image and attitude to the media and to the population. After all, second to former Prime Minister Patrick Manning, he was seen as one of the most arrogant ministers of government.
That was an error on my part. I again, was always more interested in the work. So, working so hard, I was working 16, 18 hours a day, so, and 7 days a week. So that, here am I working, my tail off, if you allow me to use that language. And you're asking me questions. And I am saying, but why are you asking me these questions? Can't you see how hard I'm working?
Adjusting to the free time he now has on his hands, but he told us he is enjoying not getting phone calls at 2 in the morning or 3,000 letters of complaints on his desk. For CNC3, I'm Kamal Georges.
Now, I want to tell you, first thing you must know, that they are not infallible. The people got them out of blasted office. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you would notice that they yearn to be in office. So he's outside of office and say he don't like it. He wants to be in government. He hasn't taken a holiday. We know why. We have our reasons why, as Minister of Finance, why he didn't take a holiday. But to tell us that he working his tail off, for who? How? When you were one that offered yourself to do the work and to be paid accordingly, according to the law and the arrangement and the regulations. But no, they want more. So they go to the parliament and they buy boat in his wife's name, and the wife get, of course, contracts as well, sue. And then, of course, they pass law to, of course, give themselves opportunity to build family dwellings in order, of course, to get a 25-year moratorium on taxes. That is the kind of thing he missed. So it is clear that these fellas are not about service to the people. He working his tail off. Just imagine tomorrow, of course, we will look a little more. But in spite of the fact that he said he would change, and maybe one should ask him, where is his PhD? Where is his PhD that he said he's going to work on? But that is irrelevant because you don't need that to be in office. But he said he will change. It was an error on his part. Let's look at this recently in Parliament.
Might have a next budget to come in. That might kill them. Because if this is causing so much pain yeah, and diarrhea, if this is causing so much pain and gastrointestinal distress, what's going to happen in the next budget? What? As I said,
yeah. We will continue, of course, tomorrow, people. We'll continue tomorrow. We have had, of course, a very full 2 days, Old Year's into New Year's, but we have quite a lot of material still to unfold and to unravel. Have a wonderful rest of the night until we meet tomorrow morning on the ground report, and then back tomorrow night, when, of course, I'll try to run through as much of the material that was left outstanding over the last 2 nights. But of course, you must know who are the ones that have been giving us pain, agony, drudgery, and of course have been stealing our treasury. And of course, these are the people that has been the bane of Trinidad and Tobago. Look them. Them giving us. Since he given us, we must give them gastrointestinal, not distress, but an absolute disorder. Let's go straight, of course, to the lines. Final call.
My brother.
Professor, good night. Let me just make sure.
My
Yes, Professor, good night.
I will call you tomorrow night. I have a notebook that written down everything since these jackasses then come into power.
Right.
And we're going to talk talk about it.
Beautiful.
I hope you don't put me off your show. But here
No,
I
no,
is
no,
I
no,
put
no, no, no.
300 something that I wrote in a notebook.
No
for these
problem, no
arts and them
problem.
that run in this country.
We are going to
My
extrapolate. We are
brother,
going
all
to
the best
examine all.
and good night. I will talk to you tomorrow night.
Yes, thank you very much. Have a wonderful one, you and yours. Bye-bye. Yes, people, these are the people that have been the evil, the decadence, the macabre, the retrobates, the sponges, and clearly criminals in a criminal enterprise are called the PNM. You just have to go on Balize House and you will see what I'm talking about. So, of course, I want to come to the end, of course. I think I better leave that up so you will see at the beginning of the year those who are the impediment and the hindrance to our development in Trinidad and Tobago. Have a wonderful rest of the night. And as we started, I like this Guyanese song because I will be featuring, of course, the Guyanese Vice President and the President tomorrow night.
Christmas morning, liming with my friends and family, greeting everyone around, eating, dancing, getting down, spending week Christmas in Guyana, watching all the little children running up and down, playing excitedly with their toys, making sure we get we share of curry, goat and rum, shoplifters and dominoes with the boys. Yes, man. There's nothing like me home on Christmas morning. Everybody there soca dancing. Masquerade band coming down. Mother Sally prancing wrong. Spending week Christmas in Guyana. Merry Christmas! Ginger beer jumping, winding up the boomsy in and out. Sneaking in the kitchen to see what grandma cooking. Putting something hot inside me mouth. Ow! There's nothing like me home on Christmas morning. Garlic pork and black fruit cake baking. Plenty sorrel and more beer, ice apple and enough sweet tea. Spending week Christmas in Guyana. Ho, ho, ho! Christmas. Hey, Captain Paul, how black eye boy? Hey. There's nothing like me home on Christmas morning, liming with me friends and family, greeting everyone around, eating, dancing, getting down, spending week Christmas in Guyana. Watching all the little children running up and down, playing excitedly with their toys, making sure we get we share of curry, goat and rum, shoplifters and dominoes with the boys. Yes, man. There's nothing like me home on Christmas morning. Everybody there soca dancing. Masquerade band coming down. Mother Sally prancing wrong. Spending week Christmas in Guyana. Merry Christmas! All them women chutney dancing, drinking ginger beer jumping, winding up the boomsy in and out. Sneaking in the kitchen to see what grandma cooking. Putting something hot inside me mouth. Ow! There's nothing like me home on Christmas morning. Garlic pork and black fruit cake baking. Plenty sorrel and mobby, ice apple and enough sweet tea. Spending we Christmas in Guyana. Ho, ho, ho.
Jing-a-ling, jing-a-ling.